Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Almost Spicy podcast. My name is Francisco,
My name is Ben.
and we have a very special guest. We've been trying to get this young artist, young maverick, in here since this podcast started. What do we even call you, man? Welcome to the podcast, Spencer.
Thank you.
East Licky no more.
East Licky, no more.
City
It's
Flora.
City San Flora now.
City San Flora.
Yeah.
That's my applause. Thanks for coming on the pod.
Thank you. Of course, thanks for having me. Yeah.
Of course.
It's a pleasure.
So we were talking about a lot of different things.
Just
I don't know where
prior.
to start.
Let's dive in.
The concept of life as a performance. I
Okay.
think everybody's putting up a performance. I tend to feel that way sometimes. Like we are performing, certain things in this world. So it's like, did you feel that you were doing a lot of performing and you wanted to not feel like you were performing, more true to yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody is indoctrinated and conditioned into so many different social, cultural boxes.
Yeah.
And there's like the things that everybody is indoctrinated into.
Yeah.
And then there are also the stuff that is like regional, religious, cultural, and then like on a much smaller level, like familial. And I think that's kind of like the one that like everybody tends to, I think, experience the most trouble with because it's so formative and it's so ingrained and immediate to us.
Yeah.
Like so many
it
people.
pulls from the other stuff, the familiar.
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
It
no,
pulls
exactly.
from the culture.
It
and
could pull
everything.
from like class too,
Yeah.
like if
But you wouldn't know it though if you're a kid. You're like, that's all you know.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
It came from the world.
Yeah.
Until later you realize
Yeah.
that everything's connected.
Mhm.
To an extent.
Yeah, I really believe everybody's indoctrinated into performance,
Yeah.
and I think that we're conditioned to think that growing up and progressing is like through a process of accumulation.
Yeah.
But I think that there's kind of this component that true growth, and this isn't in like all means, but
Yeah.
because of this indoctrination is the things you start to like chip away, think about your true self being contained like behind the block of marble, and then you chip away all that excess, which is just the
Maybe you
things
won't
that
get
you
all the way out, but like you can sculpt your piece, your reality.
yeah, exactly.
You and me spoke.
That's an interesting analogy.
No, for real.
I do like that.
You came to my house, I don't know, 2 years ago or something.
Yeah,
We had a conversation
when you were over south.
Yeah.
Mhm.
About success, and like kind of reminded me of that. Like, do you feel like you are a successful person today?
Absolutely. There's the part of me that is still like conditioned to think about things through the lens of like a capitalist society and also maybe
Monetarily,
things
yeah.
through like my parents
Yeah.
or my friends kind of like build this idea of success.
As
up
an
around.
artist, especially then, just to get everybody up to like you've done a lot of different forms of art.
Mhm.
So when I
Yeah.
talk about success, and we've talked about like, did I make it? Am I making it? Did I, because it was like to be a rap star 10 years back.
Yeah.
You, Nazim, like
Yeah.
putting out records and like this
Yeah.
image of like, playing sound set and like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you told me like, it just feels like the streams aren't there and the numbers aren't there. But
Yeah.
then one day it's like, oh, I already made it. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I've experienced a lot of success in the way of like looking at myself through like the lens of a child while like witnessing my future self. And there are so many things that I feel like my younger self would be like in awe of that like I've done. And like just stuff out even on a small scale too. Like I think about like, even with art, like being able to just like draw like a person's face or something. Like it's kind of a small thing, but I think that is like kind of just indicative of like
you couldn't always do it.
no, there's like that kind of trajectory that I think only, a kid can like comprehend, where there's so much less of that like survival, economic career pressure. You know, you just think about the things that like you want to do based off of like your interests and passions and fascinations
without thinking about the money.
Yeah, and like in that regard, I have definitely like succeeded, but like I would consider myself like a confident person in my life now. I haven't always been that way.
It's been a journey.
Yeah, but I also see confidence as like a different thing. I know some people think about confidence as like, oh, I go into a room and like everything's mine. I'm that person. Everything's
the
mine.
narcissism of it all.
And for me, like confidence for me is like I can approach something, a task, whether it be like difficult or whatever, and despite being like really afraid or unsure, still try my best. That's like my like confidence for me, you know.
Do you have like a lot of anxiety at all?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like have like clinical anxiety on many different levels. I got like
I feel that.
panic
I feel that
disorder,
so much. Yeah.
Like, there's no cameras.
PTSD and general anxiety disorder and stuff. So I think anxiety has permeated my life, and it's one of those things that it really sucks. But I think there's also a wisdom to it, and I think I'm at a place in my life right now where, as much as it's like a burden and an annoyance, I can appreciate it for opening a doorway towards like taking care of myself. Honestly, I feel like anxiety has really motivated me to consider my body and my spirit and my mind in a way that I can honor it, as opposed to just go through life and like, you know.
Right, because it can shut down a lot of people, anxiety, right? And have you heard this, that it's the same emotion technically as excitement? It's like the two ends of the same stick.
Yeah.
So it's
it makes sense. You can feel the same way.
It's amazing because I know I have really bad anxiety, and I've had periods where it's like I'm really excited about something, and it almost feels the same as if I was like really anxious about something.
Yeah.
So then it's like going to your mind and like,
Yeah.
boy, I'm not anxious today, I'm excited. And going back to the success thing, I mean, it could be as small as waking up and like doing, you know, your thing, your routine.
Yeah.
Because I read some Uber fact that's like every 6 out of 8 people
Uber
wake
fact?
up. I'm still on X. So
Uber fact.
yeah.
That's funny.
That's a throwback.
I've not heard of that in ages.
Yeah, no, well, they used to be consistent. They don't tweet anymore.
Is that like branded?
It's
Like
Uber
oh,
fact,
okay,
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. But 6 and 8 people wake up angry, and I've waken up angry, and I've had to make myself be like, no, like stop.
Yeah.
You know, this is gonna. If they say if you win the morning, you win the day.
In what regard? Like you wake up angry?
Like, oh fuck, I gotta work. Like, damn, I could have slept more. Like, this or that, like this task.
Yeah, that makes sense that you'd be angry about it, though, right? It's like
if I don't love my job or whatever.
Yeah, you're like forced to be a part of like the machine that you have no say in, you know, and that makes sense. I think that's the interesting thing about anger, is that there is a use for it. I think a lot of times people want to eliminate anger, but it has it's there so that we can assert boundaries, you know, and that also, like, if you think about it at just like a larger scale, like combat oppression and stuff.
That's
but
massive.
you know, I think the stuck anger is where like problems arise. It's when you have anger that has like no place to go, and it's except for just like stirring and boiling and compartmentalizing. Yeah. That's what
That's a great take. I appreciate that.
One of the things that I also do is Muay Thai. I'm a Muay Thai coach.
Nice.
At a gym called MKG, and for me, I've noticed that, you know, I still experience anger, but through having a body-oriented movement practice, anger can pass through me, you know? And I think there's other ways for anger to pass through you, but like it definitely is something akin to anxiety where like movement can help the experience like flow through you.
As opposed to like drugs.
Yeah.
Or maybe someone else might indulge.
Yeah, exactly. That's why people go to drugs a lot of times. And if
Yeah.
you think like with anxiety, I was reading, there's a trauma specialist. I think his name's Peter Levine, but he talks about like anxiety and trauma in the animal kingdom, and then in with humans, and a lot of times, let's just say like a gazelle gets attacked by a lion and like gets away.
Yeah.
If you look at the gazelle or like other animals that have gone through a traumatic event, like right after, a lot of times they like shake really profusely, but that's like the animal's way of like letting those things pass through them, whereas we don't. You know, a person could get in a car accident, come back from war, or like experience like, you know, sexual assault and not have that process to get it through your system.
They don't have the tools or whatnot, you know. Maybe you should forcibly do the movement after something traumatic, but it's like, how would you?
Our society isn't like built with any infrastructure around like trauma healing.
Yeah.
You know, like that's one of those things that's like really sad, is that there's a lot of people like fighting to implement these resources.
Absolutely.
And in like a society where those things aren't even like a staple of how we view health
or how we
for
educate.
people.
And you seem extremely well versed in this, just in general.
A lot of therapy. I like really have genuinely struggled with severe anxiety, and for me is a combination of sobriety and like education and therapy that have really helped me get to a better place. I still struggle a lot.
Yeah.
But I like am now at a place where I feel functional.
Yeah.
And that's kind of,
And it's not weighing you down
Yeah.
on a daily. Did you ever have it where it was like, this seems like a kind of a rhetorical question, because from the sound of it, this is the case, but where, I mean, you just couldn't do anything. You'd wake up and just
I had
feel incapable of just executing anything.
Absolutely. I had, it was like a year and a half. I want to say starting at like the end of 2022, where I like physically was experiencing a lot of like anxiety symptoms, and like in my head I was like convinced that I had some like terminal illness because I just felt so physically unwell.
You're like, there's no way this is normal.
No, exactly. I was like, there's no way that this is in my head. You know, and I was I was going to the hospital like regularly, and I remember I was in like a crisis home for like a brief moment, and like I was bedridden a lot of the time. I had a really hard time being alone because I essentially thought that if I were alone, I could die, and that
Something
my
would
body
hit.
would just be not found for a while. This is really bizarre, like
No, that's
anxiety,
common.
but like comes from I know where it comes from, and you know, like after doing the therapy, it's like, oh, that makes sense why I was like feeling like that.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
kind of given my history and
No, for sure.
and
You've been sober for how long?
it'll be. It's like 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then all this to say that, like, because I agree, you're very well educated, well read, and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know about educated, but I appreciate that.
Well,
Where'd you get that?
but the thing is like everything that you've said thus far, like, I mean, one of the questions I would have asked is like, are you a big reader? Because like you just seem so well versed in what you're talking about, and just very grounded in that information.
Thank you. I really appreciate
For the
that.
audience to see that it didn't come from nowhere. Like, but there was pain, you've been through a lot to get to this point.
No, definitely.
Glory, which is
I
amazing.
mean, I think I've, been in places where very self-destructive and emotionally immature, and like, through like therapy and reading, and also having a solid group of people around me, I feel like I've gotten to a place where I can be more self-aware and also conscious of the external elements that like affect me positively and negatively. And yeah.
Just being conscious about it is amazing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there's so many times where it's like the fish and water analogy, where you just don't even like see the environment that you're actually in, and how
So
that plays a role in your emotions and
especially with anxiety too, because like
yeah.
I know for myself it took me fucking 23 years of my life to realize, oh, this is not normal, this is anxiety, you know. And it definitely stunted me in a lot of ways.
So much of it is society, though, I feel like, that caused that anxiety. I mean, we've all
like,
seen the reports of Instagram and females
yes and no.
2012 and suicide rates and everything.
I mean, yes and no, because I think anxiety can, in a lot of times, be a hereditary thing, because it can. You don't know where it exactly is like coming from.
You think 500 years ago people were this anxious?
I think
they were anxious they were gonna die at age 20. So
I think everybody's experienced anxiety, no matter what age it's been, in a different way. Obviously, like
different causes.
well, obviously, like the anxieties of today are vastly different from 100 years ago, where it's like, oh yeah, you get fucking whooping cough and you're dead. You know?
Yeah.
Like
we have the ability to have conversations about it. I think due to like a destigmatization of mental health, but also just like
that's big too.
Context for it, because I'm sure that like there, in the past people were experiencing a lot of anxiety. You look at the world, like we talk about things being really horrible now, but there's always been turmoil and global crises that have occurred throughout history.
I was just saying someone to that recently, like, my image that today's world is this progressive, like, happy place isn't necessarily accurate. Like, there might be a coat of that, but like really the world's always been like war and destruction and stuff like this, sickness and stuff. So it's like, it still kind of is that, but there's been some progress with the internet. We can see everything. Now you see everything,
Yeah, I think there is a more of a collective conscious shift towards something more positive.
Yes.
I feel like I have better conversations with people. There are more people that are openly against bigotry that I talk to, and maybe that could be a result of like the echo chamber of like being in more like quote unquote progressive spaces.
Liberal
for sure.
But I do think that there is a shift happening. It's one of those things
global
where
awakening.
Like I don't ever want to be like a cynical person, but I also don't want to like live life with rose-colored glasses.
Right.
Where
toxic positivity is the worst.
Absolutely.
It's a balance, man. It's just always goes back to balance.
Yeah, and I know it's like a buzzword, but like so many facets of life are like nuanced, and I think that the more we can move away from like black and white thinking, the better. But there are some situations where like it is black and white, these things like it is genocide in Palestine. You know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? And
but how many times are they gonna gaslight us to no, it's not, or it was away? I don't know if you know Channel 5, like Andrew Callahan, that journalist. Heard of him? Yeah. He was saying that like his most suppressed content is that the Gaza situation, genocide, and Native American issues. So he's done a lot of videos, and those two just get.
Well, have you been watching like the Mexican border stuff that he's been? Those are fascinating.
No, he's a really good journalist.
He's a really, really good journalist. I would say probably one of the better journalists we have online right now,
especially from our generation.
Yeah, because I mean, like he's entirely like funded by Patreon, pretty much. So it's like people that really want to actually dive into that.
Getting back to the music, to the art. Just get to know you a little bit, Spencer. Maybe like top 3, top 5 musical influences, like growing up and like.
Yeah, that's a very difficult conversation.
Well,
Absolutely.
We can get more specific. If
No, I mean, I think there were very many eras of my life where there might have been a specific genre or artist that was formative for me.
Yeah.
But rap wise, I remember my dad had a huge Tupac phase.
Okay.
And that, like, listening to Tupac was like super impactful for me. And there were situations that, like, I, didn't even deal with. But I remember listening to, like, Dear Mama, and I thought that was like such a crazy song, and it was like so honest and like and vulnerable and real. And
You could feel that through the song.
Yeah, I think that the purpose of music and art in general is to like reflect life, and it's like a combination of beauty and truth and the inner world. So I can't say that like, oh yeah, all music has to be like super deep and purposeful, because I think that like even stuff like dance music is reflective of like the truth of human existence, and like is evocative of beauty in some way. But like I just have always been really drawn to like very emotional songs. And like so that was like really important to me. Same thing, my cousin Max had put me onto Late Registration. And like I mean that's a great album all around, but specifically Roses off of that album is also a very it's a really beautiful song. It's unfortunate to see the state of where Kanye is at right now, but
What's going on, you?
I think that also goes into
if we had a tally counter on the bottom of like everybody that's come on this podcast said Kanye, and it's like
Kanye form.
it's like upsetting. It's like, man, we'd have like fucking everybody.
It's a good conversation.
But I just like the issues with like celebrity worship too,
Well, that's
like,
that's tough for sure.
Yeah, but so there's that, and then I remember in high school, like I was kind of getting more like radical and like into like Malcolm X and like Che Guevara, and like Immortal Technique became like really appealing to me, and then Nas. And
I love being radicalized. Did you say that's when you became radicalized in high school?
Yeah.
Okay. You consider yourself a radicalized person?
Honestly, I feel like I was cooler in like high school in terms of like what I wanted. I remember I was like, all right, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life, but maybe like I'll get a group of people and like we just just overthrow like dictatorships and stuff like that. It's just like a weird goal.
Like casual.
The more I looked into it, I was like, I don't want to hurt anybody.
And you looked at past people that try to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So what
might not be cut out for that.
What brought you to that point though? What radicalized you in that sense that time?
I remember once my mom, she's a photojournalist.
Okay.
She had gotten me a shirt in like the early. It's interesting, like the relevancy of this conversation, like in the topic. But she got me a Free Palestine shirt.
And this is back.
This was like this is like 2007 or 8, And I remember I had some family members that were like, "Do you even know what that means?" And
Did you?
And no, I didn't. I was just like Free Palestine. I'm like, but as a kid, I was just like, if people need to be free, free them. I think that was like one interesting thing about like having parents who were like photojournalists.
Yeah. Both of them?
Yeah, both of my parents were photojournalists, and they were both interested in like telling the stories of like the unsung heroes and like injustices and stuff like that. But I wouldn't say that like there was like an outward like activism in my like household. I think there was just kind of like the idea of that people's stories need to be like told.
And a lot of those
And
people
heard.
happen to be
Yeah.
suppressed extremely.
Yeah, but there were some family members who I think they tried to get me on that. They're like, "Do you know what that means?" And I was like, "No." And then I looked it up, and I was like finding about like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and like, I remember that fascinated me, and then I got it, yeah, and then I got into like Noam Chomsky, and there was like a book where it was like notes on indigenous resistance.
Yes.
I didn't read. I was like a really like bad student, but there were a couple things that interested me, and I like, read the autobiography of like Malcolm X, and
yeah, that's probably a good one.
yeah, and this like sounds like I was like really smart and like conscious, but I honestly I was pretty stupid kid, but there was like things that like interested me, and I knew that I had a gravitation towards like a collective liberation. And I still think there's so much that I don't know, so much that I'm ignorant about, and probably really like dumb things that I'm unaware that I'm indoctrinated into.
Yeah.
But
that's what the smartest people know, that they don't know anything.
Yeah.
That's the smartest people know.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Well, because you're aware that you're not aware.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say I'm definitely still an idiot, but
Yeah, which
like,
is fine. I think that's just what life is. You know,
and I don't
you're not expected to know everything.
for sure. Yeah.
So do you think that your parents being photojournalists, and I don't know specifically what type of photojournalists they were specifically like capturing usually, but
There's a bunch of different stories, you know.
But do you think that like influenced you a lot in kind of how your perspective of the world kind of came about, like?
Yeah, I think that there were things that were more mature and existential and like class related that I was like exposed to at a younger age, like and homelessness and racial things, you know, like my mom being Mexican, like did a lot of work on like on undocumented Viva la Raza, you know, like undocumented immigrants and
That's fire. Though.
It's just I had a really weird upbringing.
Yeah.
Like just like a very strange, volatile, like, you know.
Yeah, we were just watching your podcast that you just put out recently with someone else. Like you're on a podcast tour right now.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy with the Black Label music. Yeah, no, I know.
We're on a
like,
podcast. Meta.
Yeah.
No, it's nice. I like the opportunity to be able to like talk about these deep things, and it is kind of weird to just like on like a public forum.
Well, you're getting
like,
your story.
My childhood, you know.
Right, well, my child. Yeah, it's on Instagram Reels. My childhood.
Yeah,
like,
no, exactly.
First thing someone sees at 8 a.m.
Yeah,
I know. It's really weird. Yeah, no, it's so strange because like I think about these like dualities where like, you know, my parents were like photojournalists and their photography is very beautiful. It's like really beautiful.
I wanna see it.
It's art,
Yeah.
you know. But at the same time, I didn't have like a bohemian upbringing. My parents didn't like look at themselves as artists. Really, it was like just a very like that was their profession. So just
it's
like
a job.
it's a job.
We
You know,
like that job.
but like it's kind of interesting on how like not, and I don't mean this as big, but like not spiritually like they talked about it, you know, just like the work and the process, you know.
Right. But they were doing that, you know, for a bigger cause, even if they didn't know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. People, like, I mean, you know, they say God might use you to do something.
Yeah, no, definitely.
What do you think about God and like universe? Like for me, I'll tell you, like I pray to the universe / God.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing for me, and when I pray, I just say thank you. I'm just grateful for abundance, happiness, nutrition, balance, discipline, love. And basically, like, one more thing. But I just repeat the things.
That's very beautiful. Yeah. I think regardless of the concept of God, everybody but, like, atheists, I feel like, can come into agreement that there is a central force guiding everything. And if not guiding, just being the framework.
The framework.
You know? And, for me, organized religion is a source of like trauma. So
for you.
For me, and I'm sure for a lot of other people it is. So
it's not trauma for me, but I agree with it.
Yeah.
Your statement on that, like, absolutely.
Did you come up Catholic or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And not like yeah, exactly, but like not even like I was like trying to like abide by it. It's just like I even think about like weird memories. I have a terrible memory, but being in like Bible school or something and like reading these books that I had no clue like what they were about or even that they're religious, but there was something uncomfortable about like just like why am I here and like what relevance do these things that I'm reading about have?
It seems like everybody's there and you have to be there.
Yeah, you know, and like you just don't have a choice or a say or anything. You know, like if you question like your religion, they're like, oh, this is wrong. It's like, why am I having these weird like more? It's not like like okay, like 2 + 2 isn't 7 because you take these two things and these two things and put them together. Like
there's the explanation.
Yeah, but with like religion and just being a kid where you don't like know about things and having people tell you about these like existential and like life related questions and like you might have questions yourself and you just like shut that down. Like it's just like
a lot of stuff being presented as fact, etc. Like I don't know, for the Bible it's like you always hear that these weren't really things, these are like examples of morality and like symbolism, there wasn't actually a guy named this or that.
No, exactly. And that's and that's another thing too, is just like I feel the fact that there's the symbolism of it is just like not communicated towards like children. It's like here are the stories and like this is what happened.
And it literally went this way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, shit. Okay. Yeah. Or like I remember Veggie Tales. I watched that. I was like, oh, it's an interesting show. Like, I like vegetables that are talking, and then like I remember growing up and someone was like, yeah, Veggie Tales was religious. And I was like, what?
No way.
I don't remember that. And then watching it again and then being like, what the fuck?
It really is a story.
They had me watching this shit. I should think about like Barbara Manatee, like.
That's funny to tell.
That is actually really funny.
So when you open these notes, because we're on God, we're on music.
Well, and we can go back to because I kind of liked where our conversation went a little bit.
Yeah,
where
I feel like I keep changing.
No. I kind of
like
purposefully asked some of like the background of like you, so you can kind of come back to like the music of like what influenced you. Because I feel like right now we just painted a good narrative of like where you came from and kind of like
the hip hop and then how radicalized by the music.
No, absolutely.
So many different influences though.
Yeah, because like I think that's giving like a good idea, not just of you as a person, but like how you think and like where you kind of navigate through life a little bit.
I do have a tough question.
Okay. Let's see.
Before I forget, I want to get.
Of course.
Okay. And it'll start just by naming like, would you consider yourself a jack of all trades? We're talking about. I've seen you do fabric work.
Yeah.
Music, not to cut you off. Film. A writer, songwriter, producer. Now podcaster. And you left a lot of stuff behind. Drugs, etc.
Yeah.
In a past life.
Yeah.
So would you consider yourself a jack of all trades / do you think at some point you'll want to just focus in one place, or you don't really care about the success that could come if you only did film or only did music and you are happy doing everything? If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, I think that as someone who's struggled with anxiety a lot and with drugs, for me, there's just the difficulty of grasping the facts of mortality. And, there being like, I feel like drugs can kind of function as a temporary like spiritual replacement, especially if you have like a spiritual void, like they can be something that can lift you beyond the regular fabric of life and the 9 to 5 and the
especially like a psilocybin maybe.
Yeah. And for me, through that fear of death and like the discomfort of it, and working through the anxiety with that and getting sober has grown like an appreciation for life, you know, and I think I've always had it. It's just like really put a magnifying glass over that, dealing with all of those things. And for me, I've heard like people talk about like, you know, oh, you got to focus on this one thing, you know, if you want it to work out, you know, you got to put all your eggs in one basket. And like I kind of like my whole life have been interested in multiple things, and then for a while it's like, okay, I'll just put it all in music, you know.
Yeah.
But now I'm at a point where life is so short, and I am developing a better relationship with myself, where I know what makes me happy and like what I like and what I want.
Yeah.
And know how the conditioning of success in career and society is conflicting with that.
Big time.
I want to just follow like what I want to do in my interior world, which is to experience like the multitude of creative endeavors and the technicality of it and the beauty of it and the craftspersonship, you know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, Jack of all trades seems like less of a relevant title for me. I just feel like a creative person. It's like simply as that, and that's just one of those things that brings me fulfillment. Like, not to take a long ass answer to
that's fine. That's
so,
what we want.
A short question, you know, essentially. But for me, it's just the older I get, the more I understand my anxiety. It, you know, comes from this idea that like I've lost a lot, I've failed a lot, and I've been rejected a lot.
Yeah.
And you know what matters more than anything is like spending my limited time on Earth.
Yeah.
Being curious and trying out different things and spending my time with the things that evoke passion out of me, which has typically been creative things, and also just like socially meeting like cool people who love having like deep conversations and just like want to dismantle like the veil of
coolness,
a disconnected like individualistic world. I don't want that. I want like to live in a world where people can feel free to explore their interests and develop good relations with good relationships with themselves and other people.
And the community and everything.
Yeah.
No, that's lovely.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
That goes back to the success thing or whatever, like the metrics and
Yeah.
avoiding all that, you know. Do whatever you want, you know. So that's awesome.
And I was going to kind of bring back up on that note, because you kind of mentioned something earlier talking about how you compare yourself to if you were the child version of yourself and looking at kind of your present self. Do you do that like in a lot of aspects of your life outside of just that? Like, is that something you like journal about and you're like reflecting and like going back and it kind of gives you kind of a grounding sense of peace? Or
I've journaled about it a lot, and I feel like I have to come back to that regularly.
It's like an anchor.
Because that was just interesting to me. Like, genuinely, like, I've never considered that and thought about that. Because I remember when I was younger just being like, oh, I really want, like, this camera, like, this software, and I can make, like, so many cool things. And, like, looking at it now, and I'm like, fuck, I have those things.
Yeah.
You know, like, I have all of these tools, and I'm not executing on that, but it's wow, like, I am where I wanted to be, at that time, you know?
Yeah, it's easy to lose sight of where you are and where you're going. And, you know, they say that, like, hindsight is 20/20, and I think a lot of times, like, you know, that's in relation to, like, a decision you make in the past. But I think that you can kind of take that same idea and look at your present life through the lens of your younger self and realize just how far you have come. And for me, I can still be such a like insecure, self-conscious person that can be really cruel to myself, you know. And I think that it's necessary to have that relationship with your younger self to where you can do what I learned in therapy is like self-parenting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
It's like
Put us on.
healing your inner child.
yeah,
kinda like, or-
I do this specific kind of therapy called IFS, which is internal family syndrome system, and basically that, you know, when you experience uncomfortable feelings, that is the result of a part trying to make a point
Yeah.
to you, you know?
Okay.
And sometimes things are just like feel uncomfortable and you're like, oh, I have this resistance to this thing, and it's just like an unnamed sensation essentially,
Yeah.
or like you can get caught in a thought loop, you know?
Okay.
But in IFS, you're basically trying to make contact with whatever part is vocalizing, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then give it the reassurance that it didn't have when that part was created, because usually like these parts are created from like traumatic or like uncomfortable situations as a youth where you didn't have like an adult to give you the proper care and reassurance during those times, so that you essentially step in and act as the adult or parent for that younger part.
This is the kind of like going to the root of the cause kind of thing, like internally, or like searching the origin.
In a way, because it's less relevant about like, you know, what happened,
Okay.
and more like a lot of times I'll be having a situation and then where I'm experiencing discomfort, talk to my therapist, and she'll be like, okay, like, do you notice like any parts coming up, you know, given the situation? And then I think instead of like me being like, oh, this comes from, you know, when I was like being bullied in like second grade or something.
It came to me perfectly.
You know, like
Yeah,
it's less about that and
Yeah.
more about like I literally sometimes imagine myself like in a room with that like despondent younger self and just like reassuring that younger self and like showing them comfort.
That's fire.
And like like there's like
That's crazy.
other weird things that you can do that it's like sounds really weird,
The
but
brain
like
is
just
crazy.
yeah,
For you to be
just-
able to do that.
Yeah.
I'll just imagine myself in the
Brain is so
room. I
crazy.
might clean the room that
In your
my
head, it's all
younger
in your
self,
head.
yeah,
That's
that my younger self is in. There's been times like I love animals.
Okay.
You know, I
Yeah.
might like put like my favorite animals in the room, and then like you have a conversation and be like, "All right, is it okay if I leave you, or are you alright?
That's
Now
so-
do you feel
that's so
reassured?"
interesting.
And then like, and it's really weird. It seems silly, and like you're imagining it all, but it is like a process that's actually going on. And then a lot of times afterwards, I'll be like,
It's subconscious.
Well,
Yeah.
say the brain can't tell the difference between real or fake. So it's like that goes to the manifestation or affirmation kind of theory. Of it's like whatever you say, the universe will confirm it. So it's like if you say, maybe earlier you said I'm an idiot, it's like the universe will say, yeah, you really are.
Yeah.
But if you say I'm not, I guess you're not. Or
Yeah.
I'm rich, you are. I'm not
Yeah.
rich. You know? I think the audience will get a lot from what you just said about that inner work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Spencer, are you afraid of death today?
yeah, absolutely.
Still
I'm
fearful.
so scared of death, but it's less about like, oh, what's coming after? Or am I gonna be nothing? And more about I've gotten to a point where I've developed a really good relationship with myself.
Yeah.
I've developed really good relationships with other people. I have been in a place where I didn't want to be around anymore.
Yeah.
I was self-loathing, and like things that I loved were not bringing me joy,
Yeah.
you know? And like now I'm in a spot where I realized that all that stuff was just unaddressed issues.
Yeah.
And calling to develop the relationship that I was supposed to have with myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now that I feel like I am more on a path towards having a true loving relationship with myself, that I have more of a lust for life.
Okay.
You know?
You're like, damn, it would suck for this to end.
I know,
It's getting so
exactly.
damn
It's getting good. You know,
Yeah,
it's
it's
getting
great.
good, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see the potential for it to get better.
Because you've seen the results already.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
From
I'm
your
just
work.
like, you just keep being kind to yourself. You
Yeah.
know, like I also, it's like important. Like I'm like, all right, I have to balance like having a good relationship with myself and having
Yeah.
boundaries, but also like not being individualistic and like socializing and trying to act with integrity to where I can honor myself and honor the humans around me. You know,
How do you execute that on a like daily basis?
reading like a bunch of different stuff from, you know, different like viewpoints. I think that making an active decision to like socialize regularly, and then also like making sure that the time you spend alone is like intentional. I think having attention around a lot more
Changes
like facets of your life change
that's
it,
big.
and like trying to be aware of the impact of your actions. I think that's a big thing for me, is just like understanding like the impact of the decisions I make.
One more time for the people in the back. Gotta run that whole thing again. You said, it's one more time. The impact of the decisions and the intentionality.
Yeah,
I think that's just a
and
giant key.
impact and
I think that's
intentionality.
beautiful,
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, because I also like death is also a component to the decisions I make,
Of
and
course.
there'll be times where like I'm talking with my loved ones, maybe there's friction or conflict, and like keeping that in mind, to just take a step back sometimes, and before I say something that can be hurtful, or sometimes like it doesn't even necessarily have to be that, but like I might have the platform right now in a conversation with somebody when there's conflict to step up to the plate, to act with integrity, as opposed to like also like apathy or something. Like I might, you know, you might not be in a situation where you like cause harm to somebody, but you have like the potential to do something positive, and then you take the initiative to do that, you know.
To switch it up and
And that's also to say like people are nuanced. You don't have to always be on and just be this like fucking hero all the time. But I think if you just, for me, I've tried to develop a set of like everybody has principles, you know, and figuring out what those principles are to you and living by those makes life a lot easier, you know.
Yeah.
And everybody has different things, and I don't ever want to like. I think that's another thing to try to keep myself accountable for, is like not having like a false sense of virtue or like
Sure.
you know.
Big time.
But just knowing what like I care about is essentially building a life in a world where I can be kind to myself and be kind to other people and lift others up, and also honor myself and have boundaries, you know, at the same time.
No, that's massive. No, for real. That one question I always ask is like a ritual or a mantra or advice for people, you know, that in the audience, that you would teach, or like your form of discipline. But I feel like that was almost an answer to
that was an answer to that question. I feel like
intentionality and the impact of your decisions.
I was
That's really big.
I was gonna ask, kind of based off that. So, do you have any like thought about your legacy, or like even just like
As a Taurus. Ding, 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 you're a Taurus.
As a Taurus, in Vedic astrology, I'm a Taurus, and in tropical astrology, I'm a Gemini.
Oh, that's right. It's just over. Right?
Yeah, there's like for some dates that like the people are the same, and some dates people are different.
Wait, this is new to me.
So there's like because we lost a planet. Is that what it was?
I'm not sure what it is, but the Vedic astrology is like older, and I think it like accounts for like a shifting in the stars,
Huh.
where like I could be wrong. Don't quote me. I just know that there's a difference based off of like one has taken into account like planetary movement, and the other one has been more of in a strict like place. And I find things to be relatable about both, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, but
And of course, of other signs and everything.
So
Yeah.
when were you born? Like
May 29th.
okay, so right on.
Why did I thought you were like April 29th?
Your May birthday.
So you're not even
May birthday.
April. No, that's the thing. I'm a Gemini.
Okay.
In tropical astrology, and then in Vedic I would be a Taurus. So like some of the dates are like y'all might be the same
Yeah.
in Vedic astrology, but you also might be different depending on like where you are in like the cusp of like
I feel like we'd probably still be the same,
I think
even
we're
no
right in the
matter
middle
because
of
we're right in the middle.
Taurus.
Yeah.
What are y'all's birthdays?
Mine's May 4th. So
Okay, so you're a Taurus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine was the 22nd of April.
Of April, like Aries or Taurus too.
Taurus.
Okay. Oh wow.
But it might shift.
Taurus
gradually.
gang.
That's
Yeah.
really is,
No.
yeah.
It
Taurus
really is.
podcast.
But so, I guess going back though, legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that it kind of permeates with you? Like, I guess. I don't know if that's the right phrasing for it, but
I feel like that makes sense. It's interesting because I want to leave a good impact. My grandma, who is like the sweetest person in the world, I feel like she's been a huge like influence on like who I want to be, because I think just about her, and like she cares about like people, and like despite maybe not having like understandings about like certain things, she's like also like super like Christian, but that like is the less relevant part for me. It's just I think like more indicative of the fact that like she's very like open to like different people, and like to different situations, and is just very loving and considerate and compassionate, and she would say like leave this world a better place than you found it. That is like I feel like one of my mantras, and a lot of times like what I try to do to influence my decisions is like, okay, like is this like leaving the world a better place than I found it? And I also like I'm not always in that mode, I definitely falter, and like I wish I could be in a state where I'm like constantly aware of like impact, but it's one of those things where it's like keeping that into consideration and growing, it becomes more and more apparent and more reflexive to be able to act, I feel like, in integrity and in accordance to my own beliefs and values. Legacy, I want to leave a good legacy, but I think for me it's like I'm okay with being forgotten.
That's interesting.
I wanna make sure that I am not living like an ego based life where my desire to be known or valued trumps my ability to have a good life.
Or output of what you've actually done that's been good.
Yeah, because I think sometimes the concept of ego and like being great can go against like your, I don't necessarily want to use the word like true desires, but like your purposes, like like the things that are more in alignment with
your natural purpose,
or your morals too.
Or your morals, exactly.
Guidelines and stuff. Like that.
Because sometimes success and like power and doing great, I feel like can compromise people's like true morals.
Because I think when we spoke a couple of years back, you had, I mean, we've all had that, right? But you had, you told me with your ego, like a moment where you were like pretty high ego. I mean, you're talking blood, smoke, body. You're on stage at Soundset, like it's kind of like peak times for an ego, even so. But you've been able to like find balance with that, which is awesome.
Yeah, I feel like it didn't serve me, and I think about like the nature of desire, and I feel like a conversation where like, and I feel like in a world of like oppression, suppression, there is like the beauty in like living out your desires, but I think there's also like a balance. Like I don't think that I think your desires can be misinformed sometimes.
For sure.
And like even like your true desires, I feel like for me there's times where like I might have like something that feels intense that I'm drawn towards, and then I don't like act towards going for that.
Yeah.
And then in the future, I realize that was a good decision.
That's fine.
I feel like sometimes, like, it's good to be in tune with your desires and what
Yeah.
you want, but I don't think it's necessary to like act on
every single
every single one of them, because sometimes like they're just like fleeting, or
Yeah.
like they might be informed by a different
That could be
emotion.
about anything.
Yeah.
Partner or
Yeah.
a business move.
Partner,
anything.
business,
Indulging in anything. Food.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe saying something to like your parents or something, like
Maybe you don't have to say it.
exactly, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's interesting because I don't think I've actually asked on this podcast ever about legacy, and just from what we've talked about, everything thus far, it came to me just to ask that, because how this conversation has gone is you've come to the point where you're being very intentional with a lot of different things, and I just find that very interesting, that you have the idea of that, but you're not like so attached to that egocentric, because I know that's something for me is like in my legacy, like I want to do similar the same thing of I want to leave a lasting impact and a net positive. Like I want to like if I were to die like tomorrow, I would hope that I had impacted people in such a positive way, and at least like done things as best as I possibly could, and could leave the world at least in, maybe not generally across the entire world a better place, but in my immediate surrounding.
The paths that people cross with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's all you could really.
Better.
We can't carry the world on our
Right.
shoulders, but
It all starts here, right? When we talk about change, it all starts with ourselves.
But I also still have that ego thing of me too, where I'm like, I
want
also
this clip to go by.
that not so much. That's not where my ego's at. But like I want it to be like I always have had this idea, and it's kind of it's a very vain thing. But it's like you've never truly made it in life until you are in the history books. Like you are written down, and they're
For better or for worse.
for better or worse, you're in the book.
What about Hitler? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
There's plenty of books
Fuck that guy, but he made it.
But I think that there is like also like something very
Yeah.
like oddly enough like American and capitalist about that,
Yeah.
where it's like
For sure.
by any means I'm
gonna
going to
make
be
any press-
remembered.
Well,
Right.
and that's what we're seeing with all these like billionaires and everything, right? Because they're like actively doing kind of fucked up shit things,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
And
Very
but
much
like,
so.
but at the same time, they're now cementing themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They're chiseling in that
Power.
stone, you know,
Well,
like what they're.
And that reminds me, before this ends, like I wanted to talk about what radicalized me to share with you guys was the Bernie Sanders being like snubbed out, like
Yeah.
and corruption. Basically, what happened was during the primaries, 2020, you have exit pollers outside of voting booths to keep a tally of what it's looking like to compare with the actual results, and then there's always about a 3% discrepancy between the actual results and the talliers. But with the Sanders primary, there was like 8% in many places, where it's like an outlier versus the Joe Biden. So it's like I, could see a lot of that corruption. And it's like I'm sure they told them like we'll take you out if you actually try to do this. And like
we don't know like the extent of what goes behind closed doors.
I mean, we talk about revolutionaries. You talk about Malcolm X. We talk about Bob Marley. We talk about John Lennon, MLK. Like these people were all, unalived. By a certain agency. of the United States.
Yeah,
pushing,
pushing forward like
revolution and freedom.
Absolutely.
So it's really wild.
Another thing I will say, I feel like I need to add on to this about what radicalized me is my black and brown and queer friends, honestly, because I think that it's what's like your environment and community is so important. I cannot like take credit for just like my own like going on
My
the internet
studies.
because of my shirt is what radicalized
Right,
me.
yeah.
But like there's so many things where like my friends would tell me about an experience that they've gone through,
For sure.
that I haven't.
Yeah,
And I'll be like, holy shit, that's really fucked up,
Real
Yeah.
And sometimes there'd be situations where something would happen and I wouldn't notice. And then like, I'd have a friend be like, do you see that?
Yeah,
I'd be like, what? And then they'll tell me about like why that was wrong. And I'll be like,
But you
holy
had no
shit.
idea, you're blind to it
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah. So and I think that's like radicalization and like revolution, like also happens like at a smaller scale.
It has to. It has to start there.
And I think that's what's so important
Shout
about
out
like
to the homies.
diversity. Yeah.
Shout out your song, Friends.
Yeah, shout out my friends. No, like my friends are so pivotal to me being like a person that I like. I can't say
Not
that.
everybody can say that.
I can't say I've always been somebody that I like, and now I'm like I feel like a person that I appreciate and I like.
Love yourself.
Absolutely, and I think that's a result of just being surrounded by excellent people who have supported me emotionally and like educated me and just to be in communion like with them is a privilege and an honor. And I'm not saying my friends exist to lift me up, but I feel like I exist in an elevated place because of them.
We all have our own purpose, right? So all your friends have their own purpose. So some of them, maybe their purpose is to educate and to guide and to like save, etc. And of course, we're gonna put all the Spencer, aka City St. Flora.
City San Flora.
City San Flora.
Yeah.
All the links in the description so people can stream the music. Follow you and keep up with the stories.
Yeah.
I got a rapid fire question, of course. I think we're coming up on the hour.
Yes, of course.
Aliens, yes or no? That's one I could have kept to myself. We can go into that intentionality.
Absolutely aliens. Even if it's just like little bacteria, they definitely. No, me and Nazim once saw a UFO.
Put that on.
On the 12th Avenue Bridge. I remember one time we were walking. When we were younger, we would just walk everywhere.
Yeah.
And we were walking from like South Side to Northeast.
Just
and
extreme distance.
And on the way there, I remember we just looked out in the sky and saw a triangle with like three, like it was like it was three lights that formed a triangle.
Yes.
And it was just kind of moving to the side at a slow pace. And then all of a sudden it started spinning. And then it like made a swoop and boom, like really fast.
Straight up a UFO.
And like I was like, "Did you see that?" And he was like, "Yeah, I saw that." And it was like that was undeniably, unequivocally a UFO.
Yeah,
so
that's
aliens,
crazy.
yeah,
Which is funny.
definitely.
Undeniably and unidentified.
Undeniably and unidentified. Yeah.
No, that's fire.
No, but it was like one of those things where it like moved in such like a unnatural way.
Impossible.
Like that's just like there was no way that this was some sort of like cosmic like event or something.
Right. Or a plane.
Yeah,
or anything like
exactly.
That. That's wild.
Yeah.
There we go. We got some proof on the book.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple, so I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've seen a cube. Me and Lucius saw like over the 4 seasons downtown Minneapolis. We saw a cube like.
Was this recent?
This was 3 years ago. Maybe.
Okay.
It was like clouds that started turning and it became a cube, and then the cube just started like floating. We were like, what the.
So like you could see the 3-dimensionality of
saw
it.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was really wild. For real.
Do you got any UFO stories, Ben?
I don't got any UFO. The closest thing that I have is, so I grew up in Chaska, and Mystic Lake has the gigantic lights that shoot up in the sky, and it looks like UFOs.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't know that was a casino in the area that was like doing that, but you like look up in the sky and it's like this weird formation of lights. That just like, and I remember.
There's so many videos of it.
I remember like driving home with one of my buddies, and his dad like looks up in the sky and is like, "What is that? Some UFO shit? What the fuck?" and I'm just like, "Fuck, is it?"
Like, imagine if you're a kid and you're just in that area and you see that for the first time.
It's like,
yeah. How was growing up in Chaska? That seems like interesting. I feel like growing up not in the Twin Cities, just like
the burbs.
I mean, as far as like because I think most people's like suburban experience are pretty like typical, I guess. And I would say mine is fairly typical. Chaska is very interesting because it was a very affordable place to live.
Okay.
It's not that way anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like when you talk
Shit's changed fast in a lot of ways.
yeah, when you talk of like where most of the money is in like Minnesota, it's in that like southwest metro area.
Lifetime Fitness.
Lifetime Fitness is literally headquartered there. Like there's like tons of I mean Chaska. Chaska was.
Would you say you had a white upbringing?
Yes, no.
Yes, no. Would you say that I radicalized you?
I would honestly say slightly yes to that.
Yeah.
Because like
That's what friends are for.
I definitely grew up very conservative. Like there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Like I mean my parents are a little bit less conservative than they were, but they were like more like your traditional Republicans, not like what you see today. You know,
they weren't fascist.
What was that?
They weren't fascist.
They weren't fascists. No.
Yeah. They weren't.
No, but like I think after I kind of got into the restaurant industry and then of course met you and like I was always very hesitant about like Bernie at first, but then when you kind of like start to live and understand and like go through and even just working in the restaurant industry, you're like, wow, okay, like
the class.
That's insight into
exactly like
class
you
and race. And,
we brought up class a few times here, but and with this podcast, I like to try to educate people and bring up these topics. But yeah, I mean, obviously they want us to be fighting about trans and like other issues like Tesla or whatever. Like, it does just go back to a class warfare.
Yeah.
With the Tesla thing, when people saw that, like, oh, this rich person is, at the top of this, like, we're gonna vandalize some Teslas.
Yeah.
Well, and I like to think of it too sometimes, which is interesting because I didn't like Chaska in and of itself growing up like in the school system. Like there was obviously people that had like quite a lot of money. There's people that were very, very, very poor. And it wasn't as like highlighted and like kind of what's the word I'm looking for? But
the kids never know really. Like it's
the kids don't know depending on where you are.
Okay.
Because like I know I've had a lot of friends that came from Minnetonka where like that class division is so hard there. It's like if you have like lots of money, like you're the popular one. If you don't have like, even if you're middle class, you're not even remotely close to being.
Well, like at Hopkins where I went, you just had to be funny.
Hopkins?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing because like I grew up like not necessarily like having that definitive of like that classism thing because a lot of you would have a friend that they had a house that was like gigantic and then you also had the friend that was like that didn't want to bring anybody over because it was like, well, we don't have a lot of space,
Right. Straight up. Definitely.
And there's definitely that like difference, but you didn't like I don't think I internalized it like that much compared to I think if I had gone to like a Minnetonka where like you're literally pitted against each other because of what you have or don't have.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And yeah, because like my ex roommate who used to live here, she went to Minnetonka, and I don't need to get into super specifics about it, but like I do know like in her case like she grew up not as wealthy obviously as all these other people, but she was still like popular with a lot of different people and got along with a lot of different people, but that's just who she was. But still there was still that like, oh, you can't do this because like this person.
Ski trip.
Yeah, the ski trip. Like we're going to the Maldives for this weekend. It's like who does that? Just like casually, right? Like, but that's how it is for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think because since we met at a restaurant and it was funny because
restaurant?
it was in
I'm
Eden
not
Prairie.
familiar with that.
Yeah, it was
Fine dining?
Relatively.
relatively,
Casual
yeah.
fine dining?
Yeah, well nowadays
Yeah.
everything's fine dining.
Yeah,
Right, that's a good
it
point.
was
For real.
it was upscale for the place and area, and like
Eden Prairie, people like
yeah,
that.
and it was a large
It's a
chain
rich
too.
area.
It's
Yeah.
they have money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Relatively.
Yeah.
I would say.
Not relatively. I mean,
It's rich.
it is rich. Like that's where it's similar to Edina. That's like a cake eater type
But Edina's
thing.
even more.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But yeah, I think it was interesting because I remember I was at that time because we met like 2017.
No, yeah.
Something like that, and that was like probably like 2 years out of high school. I was still like hanging out with some of my like high school friends and stuff like that. But I started hanging out with him more, and like he was hanging out with more like people like from actual like Minneapolis and like in the cities and stuff. And I started to realize like that difference between like a lot of my friends, like I'd hang out with him and like a lot of the other people that he was hanging out with, and I was like, wow, this is like completely different than like what I kind of grew up with and like was used to, like, and that's and just generally like not even like on more
Like not about the personalities, but just the energy.
the energy and like how you viewed life was like
And the world.
vastly different than like.
Well, I take it as a compliment.
Yeah, no, I know absolutely, but it like put me on to definitely like a lot of those other aspects of like things.
My God.
That's right.
But
Will you crack this open and see if I have any more notes?
Did you
please.
grow? I'm curious. Did you grow up in Hopkins? Did you like have a upbringing in Mexico at any point?
I was born in Mexico for 4 years.
Okay, and then
my
and then
life.
your family moved
Yeah,
to
then we came here.
like
My
straight to
parents.
Minnesota.
Yeah, straight to Minnesota.
Okay.
Because my aunt was here, so we pulled up on her, and then
In
it was
Hopkins.
she was like in Plymouth,
Okay.
but then
Oh, wow.
we moved. We were like in St. Paul. We got robbed, and we moved to like Hopkins.
Damn.
got robbed and
Well,
Did you move because you got robbed?
I don't know. I think it was just like immigrants like trying to make our way, so it's the cheapest,
Yeah,
like,
I
or,
see.
like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Just, like, I think my mom didn't lock the master key
Yeah.
on the door or whatever, and someone had a key. And,
Was it one of those living in like suburban Minnesota as an immigrant family? It just felt like a microscope, like to the cultural difference at all, or do you feel like it was like, I don't want to use the term like assimilate, but
Right,
like
right. I was just so young.
fit in?
Right. I adapted quick.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. And I learned some English in Mexico, and it was just like, when you're a kid, you can learn language, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is like,
I'm so sad.
I
I'm a
know.
no sabo kid. That makes me like
for
so
real.
sad.
¿Hablas español?
Un poco. Yeah.
Well, you can't even do them.
Yeah, I know. That's how you know it's bad. Yeah.
Sorry, continue. I just have a random question on that.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. No, I was telling somebody today. He was just like, "¿Dónde eres?" And I was just like, "I'm from here." My mom she like yelled at me in Spanish, but she never talked. She never really like taught me
But
Spanish.
she loved you in English.
Unfortunately.
Well, I was gonna ask that. Like, so have you lived here most of your life then, or
I was born in Eau Claire and grew up in Minneapolis.
Okay.
So yeah.
Not far.
Midwest all around. Yeah. See, my upbringing is weird as fuck because my parents are from two different sides of the country. So,
For sure.
I was a bi-coastal baby, but like, I was born in Houston, so like,
That's random as hell.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
like all over the
H-Town.
place. And I've never felt like I understood a lot of the culture here.
Yeah.
There's no
Because, like,
culture here. I don't know if there is.
No,
Yeah.
there definitely
It's
is.
just other cultures' culture.
I mean, like, it's very subtle, but like the whole family thing where people stay. I mean, they stay here, and their
Oh, yeah,
extended
I feel
family,
that, yeah.
extended family is
Yeah.
here, and like
That kind of
like
culture.
that type of thing. It's like that's never made sense to
Do
me.
you think that Minnesota people are very like they hold stuff in, like they
You talk about like the passive aggressive
Yeah.
nature of
passive or like
Absolutely.
they're not too like rager, like pretty like
That's what I love about East Coast
Contained.
people. I just
Yeah.
want to know. I don't want to dance.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is like people talk about like East Coast people being like really straight to the point, and like I've heard people say that they're mean, but I feel like a lot of times when I travel somewhere else, I'm like, wow, everybody's so much nicer here. And I
That's
felt
how
that
they
I
are.
felt that way in New York. Like every time I
Yeah.
go over there, like people are so nice.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And the stigma's like, fuck you in New York.
Yeah, that's what they say. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I guess there's like, people just like speak their minds more,
Yeah.
but I don't think that necessarily correlates to people being meaner.
But
Or
I
being
also,
bad.
I also
Yeah.
think like the difference, and this is an interesting comparison because I've listened to this in a drive with an Uber driver.
Yeah.
And it made me think of this. But he was talking about how he lived in New York, and this was when I was in California. He was driving me, and he was telling me kind of the difference between the two. And I've been to both quite a lot. And, New York people and most East Coast people, they are on a very different time. Like time is more valuable there.
Yeah.
Than
Which
it
I
is
appreciate
than it is necessarily on the West Coast, where it's like
Okay.
you're gonna spend 2 hours in traffic.
Yeah.
And that's just like
Yeah,
people expect that,
that's
right?
normal,
Where
yeah.
whereas like in New York it's like everything is like go.
Yeah.
And I think
Pace in
that's
New York is
and
very
I think
fast.
that's where we get like kind of that like that mean mentality, but realistically like a lot of people want to get straight to the point, and it can be a little bit more genuine, I feel.
Yeah.
I like that though.
You know?
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
what I like about that, like
Especially with time being your number one like asset.
Yeah.
You don't have anything.
Yeah, no, for real.
because
Your
well,
labor and your time.
but that's like something that's like so interesting because especially in New York where like there's so much more public transportation and like you're so much more accessible to getting anywhere, but like yeah, you're like time is so much more valuable there because it's like your expectation to show up here, you're going to show up there at that time, and you're not going to waste other people's time like
Yeah.
trying to.
That's fire.
But yeah,
You can learn. And the last thing I'll say about this is just how important it is to travel to like break those.
Yeah.
stigmas.
yeah,
I didn't find it to be at all like that when I was there, and traveling really expands your mind.
Absolutely.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
Spencer, anything you want to plug or upcoming projects? This might not be up for a month or two.
It's
so
okay.
Yeah,
Can
as
we
it's
expect more
currently
music?
going.
We can expect more music. I cannot say when, but
Good. That's fine.
Blood Smoke Body has some cool things
Beautiful.
up their sleeves.
Good.
And as far as the City Sam Flora project, I got stuff I'm working on
Always.
for that as well. I just finished prototyping a jacket that I just made from scratch with like my own measurements and design.
Yeah.
And
YouTube University for that one.
YouTube University and
Alexa, stop.
YouTube University and pattern making for menswear by Inju Kim, which is like a
interesting.
pattern making like textbook, and like there are like a couple other like pattern making and
Did you make
garment
this?
making. I wish I did.
I've been admiring because I like the like zipper
Thank you. Yeah,
like
it's
action
got
that's
a
going on
pretty
right there.
little
I'm like
zipper, yeah.
I fuck with
No,
that.
I've been a lot more into fashion lately,
Yeah.
and I'm really getting into manufacturing and designing clothes. So
Amazing.
there's gonna be, hopefully, some jacket and shirt designs available this
Fire.
summer.
Limited run.
Yeah, it'll be a limit. It's really hard.
Or even order too.
Make to order. Yeah, I could do that too. Yeah, I'd like to do something that's sustainable,
For sure.
Yeah.
minded with like upcycling, but
Yeah.
like sick design. So it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's a hard process. It's long to do on your own, which is like one of those things that like has like radicalized me as well, because it's crazy. Like the existence of sweatshops in the garment industry, and then also
yeah.
how people view clothing as customers,
Yeah.
and actually making it has really put into perspective like the craftspersonship and like artistry that goes into making garments that those people in sweatshops like possess like artisanal like skills.
Yeah.
And it's not recognized
At all.
that,
It's just
and-
H&M.
Yeah. which is like really crazy, but then you
Yeah.
just like look at like certain garments and
Yeah.
if you, like when you've made them, there's certain things where it's like, damn, I know how much of a pain in the ass this part is to
Yeah.
make, or I don't even know how to make this. This is way out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But there are people who are just churning this stuff
Oh,
out,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
like hardly
Yeah.
getting like paid, and it's absolutely criminal. I mean, there's so many criminal things that exist in the world, but it's, I think that's one of the values too of like learning different skills and picking up hobbies is just the insight it can provide you about the world.
Yeah.
And not to get deep.
I love that.
Not to get deep again, but like I think about like drug usage and trauma. A lot of times, like people when they experience trauma, or anybody, like capital T trauma, lowercase t, like any sort of like life hardship or heartbreak, can kind of create a void.
Yeah.
And then you feel the grief, and a lot of times like you try to fill the void. And like drugs and alcohol can fill the void or whatever. But I'm realizing like this has helped a lot in therapy, that it's less about like filling the hole and more about making the world around the hole larger.
The hole can remain.
The hole can remain, just expand the world around it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I think that like your pains and your history and can be a foundation for something beautiful to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this brick structure. It can be this Swiss cheese structure.
Yeah,
And then you build
exactly.
More on
The
the
Swiss-
Beautiful Swiss cheese.
Beautiful Swiss cheese.
Which is also a way people talk about unaliving people. Swiss cheese.
Wow.
I thought you were about to say a lot of white people talk about cheese. And it's like, but
I mean, yeah, but like,
yeah. Spencer,
Shit.
Yeah.
What a great time.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
this
on.
has been such an informative and just like grounding, I think.
It's my top episode. For sure.
Yeah, no, honestly,
We say that at the end of every episode.
but like this one,
Every
was, like,
episode
just-
should be a top episode.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You just that's the beautiful thing about doing this is you learn so much, not just about like a person, but their perspective and how they like view the life and like everything else, and it's so like grounding and like it changes your perspective a little bit, and you just feel so informed and sometimes I feel changed by some of the things that are said, because it's like
That's great.
it's
so valuable.
it's so valuable.
Yeah. Thank you for giving me the space to be vulnerable. I appreciate that.
And
Well,
we
we
appreciate
do.
you just being vulnerable with
A lot of
us.
people won't be, so
Yeah.
like, to have an artist and come in and do that is pretty amazing.
I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank
City
you.
10 Floor, Almost Spicy Podcast. We're out of here. Appreciate you. City 10 Floor in the bit. Let's go.
Let's go.
Man,
Thanks, guys.
Francisco.
All right. Thank
We're
you.
out.